holistic health, uncovering the interconnectedness of our emotions, mind, body, and spirit. This podcast is dedicated to individuals who are on the quest to uncover their truth, understanding their genetic and spiritual DNA, and learning how to harness their knowledge to achieve optimal health. But this isn't just another health podcast. The Natural Podcast is here to ignite a spark of hope within you, reminding you of your innate potential for greatness. You are pure love, capable of living life to the fullest expression. Are you ready to embark on a transformational journey to achieve optimal health? I'm your host, Mihaela, and in today's episode, we're diving deep into the COMT gene and exploring whether you are a warrior or a warrior based on your genetic makeup. I know it sounds crazy. Are you a warrior or a warrior? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to handle stress with ease while others are prone to worry and anxiety, running around like stress heads, right? The COMT gene, short for catechol-O-methyltransferase, hopefully I pronounced that right, but we know that, saying words isn't my forte, may hold the key to understanding this intriguing difference in our response to stress. So, depending on what your COMT gene says, may determine how you respond to stress. But you probably already know that, right? In this episode, we will explore the science behind the COMT gene and how it influences your ability to cope with stress. We'll uncover the genetic variations that can determine whether you're more inclined to be a warrior, someone who processes stresses more slowly, or a warrior, someone who swiftly clears stress hormones from their system and is able to deal with tasks at hand, right? So now that we had the introduction and kind of figuring out, are you a warrior or a warrior? Let's assume this episode's probably for individuals that we're assuming that you've already done a DNA genetic test and you have your results there, right? So you have your results there and you're like, all right, Mihaela, tell me, am I a warrior or a warrior? If you haven't done the test, maybe this might get you intrigued to be like, you know what, I want to do a test, I want to find out. And if you want to do that, let me know and I'm happy to guide you to the right company, because some companies actually sell your data and make money from it. But let's not get to that now. Let's assume you've already done your DNA test, your genetic test, and you're like, let's get into it, right? So before we get into anything really, let's also understand that, genetics only make up such a percentage of who you are. It's not there to determine that this is who you are 100%. Your genes might say one thing, but your environment has a huge impact. Okay. Get your results out and let's have a look at the COMT gene and see if you have a double A or a double G there, right? I'm not going to be talking about the GA in there. I'm only going to be talking about the doubles. If you have a double A or double G, right? So if you have a double A, it's a slow COMT, right? If you have a double G, it's a fast COMT gene. What does that mean, right? We have to first look at what the COMT gene is. The COMT gene determines, or COMT we'll call it, COMT determines how fast or how slow you remove catechols out of your system, right? What are they? Estrogen, dopamine, noradrenaline, and adrenaline from your system, how fast you do it. So the double A means you do it slower, right, than normal, define normal, but anyway. And then the GG means you do it really fast. You're really efficient at clearing things. You might be like, wow, I'm a GG and that's a really good thing and I'm cleaning them really fast. Well, both of them have strengths and weaknesses, which we'll go into, right? So essentially, AA means that your estrogen, dopamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline stays in your system for longer than they should. And the double G means that your estrogen, dopamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline is removed too effectively from your body and removes out of your body faster than it should, right? So not only are we talking about these neurotransmitters, we're also talking about catechols, which is compounds found in green, black tea, coffee, chocolate, some spices such as peppermint, parsley, thyme, and so forth. So you also got to think about, if you have that slow COMT, that stays in your body longer. That caffeine caffeine, that green tea that you take, stays in your body a lot longer than it probably should. What does that mean? That means jitters, that means anxiety, and so forth, right? Let's talk about the slow COMT gene, which is a double A, which is a worrier, which is someone who worries a lot, right? So essentially, you may not be able to clear these catechols like estrogen, dopamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline from your system, and as a result, they stay longer in your body than they should, right? So what does that look like? Personality-wise, that looks like someone who's very confident, someone who has energy, someone who has a strong sexual function, may potentially have estrogen issues, and that's because the estrogen stays in the body longer than it should. What does this mean? This means PMS, menstrual issues, fibroids, risk of female cancers. And if it's in a male, you can only imagine what that means. A male who has more estrogen usually has man boobs, has a little bit of extra weight on them, may impact their testosterone levels and so forth, right? These individuals also may have irritability, pain tolerance, some sleep difficulties, because if your adrenaline is in your body longer than it should, how are you going to get to sleep, right? Trouble relaxing or the power of winding down. A lot of these people that I talk to, they go, what's resting? What does that look like, Mahela? What does that mean? Because they've never been able to rest because their body has been filled with these neurotransmitters, these activated neurotransmitters for a very long period of time, okay? The other thing is also they can be workaholics. They can be workaholics, be sensitive to caffeine also. Some strengths, something that can benefit an individual, maybe they have natural enthusiasm about life, natural enthusiasm about anything that's happening around them, right? They're very generous individuals also. They have energy and they're productive, and they have the ability to focus for long periods of time on things that they want to focus in, of course, like all of us. Some weaknesses may be trouble in winding down, sleep challenges, workaholism, difficulties metabolizing estrogen, and you can just imagine what type of health issues that can occur, okay? So what essentially happens when you have a slow COMT, you actually don't have enough SAMe, which is part of the methylation cycle and is a methyl donor, which I'm probably going to talk about in another podcast in more detail. They may have low homocysteine levels, which can be an issue. A lot of people are like, oh, well, low homocysteine, that's what everyone aims for. Well, depends, right? Low and high homocysteine are an issue. They may want excessive caffeine and chocolate and tea and so forth. They also might be too stressed because of these build-up of all of these neurotransmitters. Because of an issue that can happen is meat could be an issue for them, especially if this meat is filled with hormones like estrogen and so forth, because they are unable to probably metabolize that estrogen as well. So therefore, this estrogen causes an issue in their body. This is the animal's estrogen, right? The other thing that can happen is an overexposure of xenoestrogens found in plastics, personal care products, home product cleaning products, and so forth can build up the estrogen, right? So these are some things that these slow COMT individuals need to be a bit aware of. But look at the benefits, right? All of that enthusiasm for life and energy is just so beautiful, and you see that come through for these individuals. All right, let's look into fast COMT, which is GG people. And these are warriors. Like, yeah, I'm going to go fight and I'm a warrior, right? Which is quite interesting. And a lot of individuals, when we talk about genes, go, well, Mahela, why did this gene survive? And when you think about this particular gene, the fast COMT gene, survived because they needed warriors to fight in wars, and they needed people to actually move things forward and go to the battlefield. I'm sorry, but a slow COMT would not go to the battlefield. They will be in the back, writing up a whole plan, focusing and dealing with how to attack. But they will not be the one attacking. They will need fast COMT individuals to go and do the attack for them. So do you see how they work hand in hand together? Neither is good or bad. It's just they work hand in hand together. It's interesting. Sometimes you see couples who are some one individual is a slow COMT and one individual is a fast COMT, which works perfectly. They may not understand each other sometimes in some scenarios, especially stressful environments, but it works, right? So a fast COMT GG is a warrior ready to go on and battle whatever it is they need to battle, right? They clear estrogen, dopamine, noradrenaline, and adrenaline from their system too effectively. It removes sooner than it should be, right? So if these neurotransmitters are out of the system sooner than they should be, it's kind of the opposite of the slow CMT, right? These individuals have a sense of calmness, or they're just there like, yeah, chilled, it's good, just meh. Kind of like meh about life, yeah, it's cool, it's those people. Yeah, well, that's the fast CMT individuals. They lack sleep difficulties. You see them fall asleep in 2 seconds and you're like, wow, I'm so jealous, right? No issues. Usually don't have issues with sleep unless there's other environmental factors that are affecting their genes. But genes-wise, they shouldn't have issues with their sleep. They have an effective stress response. They've got pain tolerance, difficulty completing tasks. So staying focused is a huge thing for them. They can't, or they struggle with it. They have difficulty focusing on staying on task. They forget things like, oh, was I meant to do that? Oh, I forgot. They have maybe a lack of confidence sometimes, lack of optimism, because they're just kind of, yeah, it's cool, it's chilled. Low energy. They rely on coffee. These are those individuals that rely on coffee, chocolate, green tea to get them going, because they don't have these neurotransmitters in their body. They need to get them externally, right? To get that buzz externally, because they're not getting it. When I'm saying all this, exactly, a person or yourself that's exactly like this. And you're like, oh my gosh, wow, that's crazy. So some strengths are that they're naturally calm, which is so beautiful. They're naturally calm and they're just chilled about life. And they have the ability to relax. They have a high tolerance for stress. So when stress occurs, they're like, cool, I know what to do. I know I've done this before. I'm feeling all these neurotransmitters. The way ahead is this. They have just an accepting nature about themselves. They can have a broad focus with a wide range of activities. So they're not those individuals that have done soccer since they were 5, right? And stayed to soccer. These are the individuals that have done soccer, basketball, baseball, softball, swimming. They've tried everything and they have a wide range. And it's like you sit down with them, you talk to them and you go, what are your hobbies? And they're like, oh, well, my hobbies are golf, tennis, traveling, some random stuff, I don't know, ring making, perfume making. They have a wide range and it always changes, right? These are these individuals, and they have an ability to sleep well. Usually these individuals, sleep is not an issue if you ask them. Weaknesses on these could be they have trouble revving up to get them excited, to get them to do things. It might be a bit of a push for them, right? Difficulty maintaining focus. They're always changing things, changing directions. That mate or yourself or even your partner that's like changing things always. And it's like, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do that. And I've got this course and that course. They're doing that and they're changing careers and things like that, right? They have a weaker memory, tendency towards depression. And that's because dopamine, serotonin, and all these neurotransmitters are leaving their body, and they're not there. They're not staying there. And so when you think about it, so high dopamine, which is the slow COMT, they may have ADD, paranoia, irritability, high blood pressure. Whereas on the other hand, low dopamine, such as the fast COMT, may have addictions, cravings, attention difficulties, and poor fine motor control, right? So you can see how they all have their benefits and their downfalls. High noradrenaline, which is the slow COMT, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, stress, obesity, low noradrenaline, fibromyalgia and pain issues, mood disorders. They love strenuous exercise, so potentially they can hurt themselves, because these individuals, the fast CMT individuals, are always chasing the next high because they don't have these neurotransmitters in their body. They're like, when can I get my next high? How can I get my next high? And that might be a good thing or a bad thing. Some individuals, they can take it extreme depending on other genetic factors, and it can end up being addicted to drugs, addicted to food, addicted to alcohol, addicted to relationships, whereas others may take it a benefit of a thing and be addicted to a good thing, like whatever good thing is. That brings on the whole thought about addictions. Are any addictions good? But we won't go there today. So you can kind of see the train of thought that I'm going along. High adrenaline can give you anxiety, hyperactivity, and stress, and these are the slow COMT individuals, more prone to anxiety, more prone to stress, and hyperactivity. These are the individuals that are told that they have ADHD, right? These are the individuals that get told you have anxiety. Yeah, but if they work with their COMT gene and make it work for them and fasten up the activity of the COMT gene, they may not have ADHD or anxiety anymore as much as they would have if they didn't work with it, because there are cofactors that work with these genes that either slow it down or increase or fasten it, right? You can always work with these, and this is why I work with genes like this, because you can adapt things, you can change things in your lifestyle with your epigenetics to help it work, right? Low adrenaline, which is the fast COMT, is fatigue, poor concentration, low cortisol, adrenal burnout. So the fast COMT individuals are usually the ones that have adrenal burnout, right? They're the ones that have adrenal fatigue. They're the ones that are on so many adrenal fatigues, herbs and supplements, but really the issue is that their COMT is fast. Their body naturally clears out all their dopamine, all their serotonin, all of their adrenaline, noradrenaline out of their body like this. Boom, boom, boom. So yes, look, I'm a naturopath. I love working with herbs. But is that the solution? It's part of it, but it's not getting to the root cause. You need to understand your genes. You need to understand how your COMT works to be able to work with it and be like, wow, okay, cool. You've got a fast COMT. You're more prone to depression. This is what we're going to do. Like in the morning, you're going to get up and exercise first thing because you need to raise your neurotransmitters, right? So essentially, these are the things that we need to look at. So remember, a fast COMT can be made slow due to medications, lifestyle, and vice versa, right? So just because you've been given these genes doesn't mean 100% it's like this. Lifestyle affects it, right? So essentially, what do you do now? You now know kind of like how you are, and you're like, cool, I'm a bit more laid back now. I'm a bit more gentle on myself because I understand my genetics, I understand the impacts, but what do I do now, Mihaela? All right, cool. So essentially, for both fast and slow COMT, and remember, this is not advice. I don't know your situation and things like that. I'm not your naturopath. I am a naturopath, but I'm not your naturopath. I may be, and if I am, let me know, and we can work on how to get this working better for you. So for both the fast and slow COMT, the one thing that you need to do is you need to optimize your weight, right? Your weight needs to be optimized, especially for slow COMT individuals, because fat creates estrogen and making it harder for your COMT to regulate estrogen levels. Yes, the more fat you have on you, the more estrogen you have on you, the more toxic you are. But we can talk about that another day. So the other thing is avoiding xenoestrogens like plastics and so forth, avoiding BPAs, because with the slow COMT, it's so hard to remove it. There's so many specific things we can talk about. Sleep, so important. Going to sleep and getting up at the same time, so important for both fast and slow COMT. Having organic foods, absolutely important, because you don't want to put more strain on other genes that can impact the COMT gene and so forth. So buying organic. The thing is, right, so when you think about what to do, what do you do if your COMT is slow is you want to remove your neurotransmitters and your catechols out of your system a bit faster. So you would think better foods, you would think exercise, you would think stress reduction exercises, meditation and so forth, beach, outside, nature, right? For fast COMT individuals that clear it out like crazy, you want to think about, how do I increase my dopamine? How do I increase my serotonin? We are talking about exercise. We're talking about increasing those neurotransmitters. We're talking about hugs. We're talking about socializing. We're talking about breath work, nature. Do you see how all of these things are just like what everyone says, like, oh, you should go to nature, you should go do this, and it actually works for your genes. There are some specific ones. With fast COMT, you need protein. Protein is your friend. Fast COMT individuals need to have protein every single meal, right? Slow COMT individuals, no protein at night, because what you're doing is you're increasing your anxiety and your irritability, and therefore you may not be able to sleep. Okay, so those individuals, it's a high carb diet at nighttime, preferably plant-based, just vegetables and complex carbohydrates to help you sleep. For the fast COMT individuals, it's protein. You need protein. Like protein. I'm just going to keep blabbing on about it. Those are some of those things that you can do, and there's so many others. But look, I was meant to keep this pretty short. This episode is meant to be only 10 minutes, but you can't stop me from blabbing on about this because I absolutely love it. Ended up being like a 20-minute episode. Wow, I'm just looking at the time now. I'm like, whoa, I can keep talking about this. And I haven't even touched the surface. I've just given you a little overview. But I love genes. I love how they impact us. I love us being able to impact them to better ourselves. But just now that you know, if you have a fast or a slow COMT, you kind of understand yourself a little bit better. You can kind of give yourself a little bit of a breather and go, cool. Not blame your genes, but be like, cool, it's all good. I'm all good. I know what to do now. And if you need any more information, please feel free to contact me. Feel free to reach out, ask me any questions that you may have. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this solo podcast on COMT. And hopefully, you know now, are you a warrior, like rah, or are you a warrior, like, oh my gosh, what's happening next? You know which one you are, or your partner, or your family and friends. You can find out what they are if they do the gene test. Or even if they don't do the gene test, you can kind of pinpoint and go, you have a fast COMT. You need some protein. Cool, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the Natural Health Podcast. And remember to look after yourself. And I'll see you in the next episode. Content and information provided here is the opinion of Mahela Raguse and is for information purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Mahela Raguse does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. And in the circumstances shall the Natural Health Podcast, Mahela Raguse, any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Mahela Raguse be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Health Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting a doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Health Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Mahela Raguse nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in educational content.